7? Yeah, he's looking down.
After that, there was something in there. And then you're at a week where I went to McCullough and my dad. And then there's a whole weekend. And then I come back the week for graduation. And then Christmas. And then it's snow day. So I got myself a streak going on.
All right, we're live, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the January 13th Litchfield budget hearing. If I could ask everyone to please take their seats. Welcome. Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. We're going to call the budget hearing to order, and we're going to kick off our session tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. If I may ask everyone to rise, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The objective for tonight is to present the town and school warrant articles. Just as a reminder for those that have been through this process before, you're going to see some article numbers presented on both the town and school side. Some of those numbers will not be in sequence. And the reason for that is because the budget hearing and the budget committee specifically is focused on raise and appropriate articles, those specifically that have tax impact. There are other articles that will be presented in March to the voters that do not have tax impact and therefore are not being presented this evening. Additionally, there's quite a few warrant articles this year that require some explanation, or that would be nice to have some explanation by both town and school officials, should they so desire. So, uncustomary to the budget hearing, and certainly not to replicate the deliberative, we do have members in the audience this evening from both the town and the school, as well as the police representation and fire. Thank you for joining this evening to talk about some of the articles that will be presented tonight in the event that there are questions, as well as to provide some supplemental information for the taxpayers in the town. Excellent. So we're going to get started with the budget hearing. I'm going to be looking to my left this evening because I don't have a screen in front of me. But just to run through the budget committee members, my name is Andrew Cutter. I am the chair of the committee. With us this evening, we have Mr. John David Sun, who is vice chair. We have Mr. Taylor on the committee, who is not with us this evening. Mr. Hayes, who is also not with us this evening. We have Ms. Carrie Douglas in the audience tonight. Ms. Kate Stevens in the audience this evening. Mr. Derek Barca is not with us this evening. Excuse me. We have Ms. Christina Harrison from the school joining us, as well as Selectman Leary also in the audience this evening. And just some highlights to walk through the typical budget committee process for those that may have not followed for the past budget season. The membership is comprised of a number of members. We're served on staggered terms, and it's really through the adoption of RSA 32. The town of Litchfield has adopted provisions of the budget bylaws, or the municipal budget law, through the 1969 annual town meeting. And at the same meeting, the town voted to elect 6 budget committee members. And then in 2013, there was another warrant article that was presented that increased the members from 6 to 7. We are a total committee of 9, with, again, 1 member serving from the school board and 1 member serving from our select board. And members are serving on staggered 3-year terms. Just to get into the town budget. And so we really begin the process after the March elections. And this started in March of 2021. It started with a little bit of a disappointment. We did have committee member Nicole Forty resign because she moved out of town, in which we did appoint Mr. Scott Taylor for a 1-year term to fill her seat. His seat is up again this March. The budget review process specifically began in September, where we start first with the town, go through the town in great detail, and then shift gears in the late October, early November timeframe to the school. The Budget Committee reviewed the town budget on September 30th, October 7th, as well as October 14th. When the Budget Committee received the budget, the Select Board delivered that budget to the Budget Committee, and that amount was $7,442,795. The Budget Committee is obligated to follow the tax cap. We do have a tax cap in place, which was passed by the voters a few years back. That tax cap limits the amount of tax increase on the town side by $175,000. And so the budget that was delivered at the start of our process was just under the tax cap by $25,000, which represented a 3.57% increase from current fiscal year 21. So the Budget Committee voted on the town budget. We went through the budget, all the sections that were presented across the various departments, and ultimately the committee took some action to reduce some of the line items. In total, we reduced $16,449, and that was representation of reductions across IT, legal, road, and conservation, which led us to a total revised town budget of $7,425,719. Additionally, taking from that, the board, and as we go through the process, because we started in September and October, some of the numbers that are presented to the committee are not locked. And so there are some changes that happen in the December timeframe as more fixed numbers for the following year are coming into to the town. And so with that, there were some changes that were made by the Select Board on their budget. Advertising was increased. We have a new contract with our fire chief. Hydrants was reduced due to a rate decrease from Pennachuck. EMS Code Red was a minor increase. Recreational fields, we have a new field maintenance coming into this next year crew, and that represented a significant increase on field mowing and that type of thing, as well as an increase in gas, which we're all feeling the pain at the pump. That led us to a revised total town budget of $7,413,037, which is what's being presented tonight. That represents a 2.82% increase, and the budget is under the tax cap by $72,165. Now, when we consider the tax cap and that $175,000 limit, we're also considering warrant articles in addition to the budget, right? And so the $7,413,000 is what's going to the voters for operating budget. But in addition to that, you're going to be presented this evening with a variety of warrant articles that are above and beyond that budget. And I understand that this might be a bit of an eye chart, but we'll go into each of these articles in detail. The first article will be human services. The second article will be a full-time highway position, which was presented to the voters last year, didn't pass, and is being presented again due to the need. You're going to see an article this evening on a school resource officer, as well as a part-time clerk position. There's a new article for fire apparatus, which I've learned this evening is actually going to decrease a little bit. And some other articles on property reevaluation, technology. There's a fire vehicle and equipment fund that they're looking to increase, and public works fund, et cetera. So when all is said and done, on the right-hand side of this presentation, you can see how we're tracking under the tax cap, and then ultimately with the fire engine, it would be over the tax cap if we voted on it. So we'll go into the articles. My intention is to read each of the articles. At the end of the town section, I will welcome questions from the public, and we can go from there. So Article 4, operating budget. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth in the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling the presented number earlier of $7,413,037. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $7,364,500, $547, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Litchfield or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40.13 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Estimated 2022 tax rate impact is 9 cents. This was unanimously recommended by the Board of Selectmen as well as the Budget Committee. Article 5, Human Services and Health Agencies. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,255 to support human services and health agencies providing services to the town of Litchfield? The estimated 2022 tax rate impact is 2 cents. Again, unanimously recommended by both the Select Board and the Budget Committee. And just to speak about this process here, there's a number of departments that reach out to the town, that provide support to the town throughout the year. The Select Board goes through that request lists, makes decisions on which organizations we should fund. That is presented, and that's how we've arrived at $21,255. This was in the operating budget a few years back, where the Budget Committee was going through it in great detail, as we do for this warrant article. It was pulled out of the operating budget and is now presented separately as a warrant article each year. Article 6, full-time highway position. Shall the town vote to establish a full-time highway position effective July 1st of 2022 for an estimated annual wage, benefit, and other related costs of $85,607? And further, vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $41,736 for wages, benefits, and other related costs for the period of July 1st, 2022 through December 31st of 2022. The estimated tax rate impact for 2022 is 3 cents. This, again, unanimously recommended by the Select Board and the Budget Committee. Article 7, full-time school resource police officer position. Shall the town vote to change the part-time school resource police officer position to a full-time position effective July 1st, 2022, at an estimated annual increase in wages, paid benefits, and other related costs of $41,067, and further, vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 for wages, benefits, and other related costs for the period of July 1st through December 31st of 2022. The estimated tax rate impact is $0. Recommended unanimously by both the Select Board and the committee. And again, we do have representation from the police this evening if there are questions, which we'll entertain after the presentation of town. Part-time clerk position. Shall the town vote to establish a part-time clerk position to assist the town clerk, tax collector, effective July 1st, 2022? This position would be assigned to a 20-hour work week with no paid benefits at an estimated annual wage and other related costs of $18,323. And further, vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,144 for wages and other related costs for the period of July 1st, 2022 through December 31st of 2022. The estimated tax rate impact on this article is 1 cent. This was recommended by the board, 401, and recommended by the Budget Committee, 900. Article 9. Important to note that through Article 8, these articles remain within the tax cap, which is why the Budget Committee was able to vote and approve, or recommend, these particular articles. With Article 9, because of the amount and because of the size of this particular article and being over the tax cap, the Budget Committee was not able to vote a recommendation on this particular article. However, it was the general sentiment of most of the committee members to recommend this particular article if we were able to. But allow me to read it. Article 9. And this is also highlighted in the capital improvement plan from year 2022, which is replacing a nearly 30-year-old fire apparatus. Shall the town vote to authorize the selectmen to enter into a 5-year lease purchase agreement for for the sum of $703,984 for the purpose of lease purchasing a fire engine with equipment and attachments for the fire department, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $147,948 for the first year's payment for that purpose. This lease agreement contains an escape clause. Estimated 2022 tax rate impact is 12 cents. This was recommended by the Select Board 500, and once again, as mentioned, was not recommended by the Budget Committee 3-6, given the tax cap impact. In speaking just with the fire chief a few moments ago, it's my understanding that this article will be adjusted down to reflect a fixed price that the town received, and that will occur likely at deliberative. Article 10, Property Reevaluation Expendable Trust Fund. So the town has a number of trust funds for various purposes. We have one for the property reevaluation, which allows us to annualize a budget. We all know Avatar comes around and assesses our properties. This fund allows us to level out the costs associated with that program year over year. So shall the town vote to raise and appropriate $25,000 to be placed in the Property Reevaluation Expendable Trust Fund, which was established in 2021. This sum is to come from the unassigned fund balance and no amount raised to be from new taxation. Estimated tax rate impact is 0, recommended by the Select Board 410, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-3. The current balance in the fund is $25,000, and the goal is to level fund that at $25,000 for the next several years to get to $100,000 in the fund, with the next reevaluation being planned in 2025. Article 11, Technology and Communication Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $12,000 to be placed in the Technology and Communication Expendable Trust Fund as previously established? This sum to come from the unassigned fund balance and no amount to be raised from new taxation. Estimated tax impact is 0. Recommended by the Select Board 500, recommended by Budget Committee 8-1. Again, current balance, already established fund is $38,000, and the goal is to establish a $50,000 balance, therefore the request to increase. Fire Vehicle, Article 12, Fire Vehicle and Equipment Repair Expendable Trust Fund. So this is a trust fund that allows the fire department to tap into in the event that there are significant failures with some of our equipment, in the event that that occurs, and it's not within our operating budget. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate $25,000 to be placed in the Fire Vehicle and Equipment Repair Expendable Trust Fund as previously established? The sum is to come from unassigned fund balance and no amount to be raised from new taxation. Estimated tax rate impact for 2022 is 0. Recommended by the Select Board 410, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-3. The current balance is $51,317, and the goal is to bring that up to $75,000 given the aging equipment that the fire department is working with and the costs associated and the increase in costs associated with that equipment. Article 13, Public Works Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,000 for deposit into the Public Works Expendable Trust Fund as previously established? This sum is to come from the unassigned fund balance and no amount to be raised from new taxation. Estimated 2022 tax rate impact is 0, recommended by the Select Board 500 and the Budget Committee 7-2. Again, trust fund that's already established. There's $20,843 in that account, and the goal is to establish a $100,000 balance. Article 15, Farmland Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,408.71 to be placed in the Farmland Capital Reserve Fund as previously established? This sum is to come from the Land Use Change Tax Fund as previously established, which represents land use change tax revenue as of December 31st, 2021, but not transferred to the Conservation Fund in accordance with the $1 million cap that was established in 2014. No amount to be raised from new taxation, and the estimated 2022 tax rate impact is 0. This was recommended by the Select Board 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 8-1, and to my knowledge, the Conservation Commission has not yet taken action on this. The current fund balance is $125,172, and the select board are agents to expend. Okay. That concludes the town warrant articles that are being presented this evening. What I'd like to do is open it up for the public input or for Q&A. No one? Okay. There'll be a second Q&A session at the end. We'll go through the school. So very similar to the town budget process, the budget committee also reviews the school budgets at great length and great detail. This is piggybacked. Once we conclude the town reviews, we move right into the school reviews. And so this occurred on November 4th and November 8th. Similar to last year, which was the first year we tried out this process and have been refining it since last year and this year, where the budget committee and school board try a streamlined review, where we have a joint session to go through the budget process with the school board and budget committee joining and being able to ask questions during that review process. The budget was delivered to the budget committee on November 4th, and the budget that was received by the budget committee was $23,931,881. The approximate split between salaries and benefits and other is about 80-20. The budget committee reviewed the budget details on November 18th. Voting on the school budget occurred on December 2nd as well as December 9th. On December 2nd, the budget committee, through our motions, voted to reduce various budget lines by $14,257. And further, on January 6th, the budget committee reduced the special education line by $150,000. With that, the total school budget that was presented is $23,931,881, minus the reductions across the various departments as well as special education. And there was a revised total school budget being presented of $23,766,634. It should be noted, and I apologize for not including this slide, that represents a 0.002% increase over current year, right? So 0.2%. Okay, now we'll get into the school warrant articles. Article 1, shall the Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote at the first session of the annual school district meeting for the purposes set forth herein, totaling $23,766,634. Should this article be defeated, the default budget should be $24,184,241, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Litchfield School District or by law, or the school board may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Important to note that this does reduce the operating budget, and it's estimated as of a reduction of 29 cents. The default budget estimated tax rate impact also results in a reduction of 5 cents. Unanimously voted by the school board 500, as well as the budget committee 900. Article 2, shall the Litchfield School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Litchfield School District and the Litchfield Education Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. So the 2022-2023 increase of this new contract is $351,187. And the 2023-2024 impact is $364,665. And to further raise and appropriate the $351,187 for fiscal year 2023, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that we paid at current staffing levels. The estimated tax rate impact is 29 cents. This was recommended by the school board 500. We were, as a committee, unable to vote on this particular article and the next article that will be presented at our last meeting because we were awaiting information. The committee will be meeting after this budget hearing tonight, right here in the auditorium, and we will be voting on both this article and the support staff article being presented here in a moment. Article 4. Shall the Litchfield School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Litchfield School District and the Litchfield Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. 2022 to 2023 is $99,433. 2023 to 2024 is $98,202. 2024 to 2025 is $91,822. And to further raise and appropriate the sum of $99,433 for fiscal year 2023, such sum representing additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that we paid at current staffing levels. The estimated tax rate impact is 8 cents. Recommended by the school board 500, and again, pending vote this evening by the budget committee. Okay, Article 6. Shall the Litchfield School District authorize the school board to enter into a 20-year municipal lease agreement in the amount of $5,066,140 for the purpose of funding the Litchfield Middle School project, including but not limited to building renovation, heating and ventilation, lighting and controls, renewable energy, and to further raise and appropriate the sum of $195,000 for the first year's payment for that purpose. This lease agreement contains an escape clause, majority vote required. Estimated tax rate impact is 16 cents. Recommended by the school board 500, not recommended by the budget committee 3-6. Once we conclude the school articles, I have invited the superintendent to come on up and to provide some supplemental information to the town this evening. Okay. Article 7. Shall the Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $125,000 to be added to the Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund established in 2020 for the purposes of funding the study, planning, and cost of new construction or renovation of existing facilities in the Litchfield School District. This sum is to come from the June 30th unassigned fund balance for transfer on July 1st of this year with no amount to be raised from taxation. This amount is consistent with the capital plan adopted by the town of Litchfield in September of 20. Estimated tax rate impact is 0. This was recommended by the school board 5-0 and recommended by the budget committee 6-3. And that concludes the school warrant articles. What I would like to do at this point is jump back to Article 6. I'd like to invite Superintendent Jetty to come up and present some supplemental information this evening.
So if I may, I'll just present here from the floor. So thank you, Chairman Cutter. Just one clarification point on warrant Article 1, which was the operating budget. That did show the board had voted 500 to support that. That was prior to the additional $150,000 cut. So that will be going back to the school board for reconsideration at the next meeting on Wednesday. So I just want to be clear that there was an additional cut made, so the board needs to act on the final warrant. As far as Article 6 goes, this is a really important project for the Litchfield School District. So we talk often about the facility needs in the district. Campbell High School is the newest flagship of the district, is a building that's in pretty good shape. It's had good maintenance and systems are operating pretty well. We've invested over the last year into HVAC equipment here, but really the school is in good condition. The middle school has also been well maintained. However, you're talking about 35 years. And at that point, it just reaches a different level of equipment that was originally purchased, and some of the failures have really exceeded useful life there. And Griffin Memorial School is our oldest building, and the needs there are a whole different story to talk about, hopefully next year, because we are engaged in work, and our plan is to come forward with a project for Griffin at next year's meeting. So right now, we need to focus on making sure that our middle school is equipped and ready to last for the next 30 to 40 years. And a few people that I want to acknowledge and recognize, because we've spent a year working with a team to identify what the concerns are in that building and to come up with a taxpayer responsible plan to go forward. And so David Ely is in the back. David is the architect that we have engaged with, and David is instrumental in helping us to identify the scope of the project and what it is that's necessary there. And sitting in front of David is Charlie Niebling, and Charlie is consulting with us from an energy point of view, because really the energy needs there are the way that we're going to be able to finance this project. And another key person that I want to acknowledge is David Ross. David is our facilities director. And Dave, put your hand back up again, because that is the control system at the middle school. So the systems there are not operating correctly. They have failed over time. And so Dave is constantly running up and back, up to the roof, turning something on, turning something off, throwing switches in the boiler room in order to make stuff operate. It's not an ideal environment at all, and it's really important that we get that resolved once and for all. And I think the key handout, if you received on your way in, is the handout that's entitled the $5 million choice, okay? Because this outlines exactly what it is that we're proposing to do. And basically, if you look at the chart to the left, it tells you that over the next 20 years, we are going to spend $5 million at Litchfield Middle School. And here's how we're going to have to spend it. We're going to buy oil, we're going to buy electricity, and we're going to have to repair the boilers. We're going to have to pull the underground oil storage tank that is at end of useful life. It's not going to pass another inspection. It's got to come out of the ground. So we're going to spend $5 million repairing those systems. And then we're going to, when we repair the existing systems, we're going to keep buying electricity on the, from Eversource, and we're going to keep buying oil to put into the new tank that we've put in. And that's going to lock us in for the next 20 years with market instability. We're going to be faced with what's happening to the price of oil. It's gone up 51% in the last year. It might go back down again, only to go back up again. We know how that goes. The same thing with electricity. You can see the numbers on the chart. We had a 33% increase in April of 21 and a 27% increase in December. You're seeing that in your home electric bills. We're seeing it on our side. Those are actual situations that we're facing relative to energy costs. What we're proposing to do is chart number 2. Chart number 2 is to install a renewable energy solar PV array on the roof of the school and to use that to generate our electrical needs. And then to take the energy savings, the cost avoidance that we're not going to be sending to pay for oil or pay for electricity on the market, and to use it to complete the necessary renovations. So we're looking at $2.3 million in heating and ventilation, $500,000 to renovate the locker rooms, which are unused space nobody's using. Middle schoolers are not going in and taking showers and changing in the locker rooms. It's unused space. We'll convert those into classrooms that we need, and that will set us up for the future. Lighting and electric upgrades. There's a, you could go in and see the electrical transformer, and you could fry an egg on it because it's so hot. It's inefficient. We want to get the electrical upgrades done so that we're able to responsibly use the tax dollars that we're given. We need to upgrade the kitchen, and we also need to improve insulation to the entire building. So in order to achieve the energy modeling that we're going after, we need to better insulate the slab and make sure that there's an air gap in the way the building was constructed that we need to seal up. So we have to spend a little bit of money to save the money, but in the end, it's the same $5 million that we're proposing to spend. And we feel that we are getting an improved system out of it. You no longer will have one classroom at 60 degrees and another classroom at 80. you're going to be able to stabilize those environments through the proper controls. So the choice that's in front of the taxpayers really is not whether to spend that money, because we can keep buying the electricity, keep buying the oil, or we can invest into the system and achieve the upgrades that are necessary, and that will button up the project at Litchfield Middle School so that that building will be set and equipped to last for the future. On the back of that chart, we also get into some of the finance options. Why is it that we're looking at a municipal lease? Frankly, this will allow us to get the project done this summer. It'll allow us to lock in the market rates before the federal interest rate increases come. If you read the news, they're coming. The Feds have already indicated, the Federal Reserve has indicated that they're projecting 4 increases to the interest rates. So we want to get locked in ahead of time, and the municipal leasing allows us to do it. So that's a summary of the project. David, do you want to say anything further on it? Because I think it's important that you hear from our facilities director on it.
Yeah, I'd just like to elaborate on, as far as the repairs, we kind of left that part out, all the money that's going to be saved in the repair. As far as the boilers, when they open them up and I look inside the burner compartment, we actually had a section of boiler blew out. It's all worn out. We're going to be needing to replace these pretty soon. As far as the units, all the unit ventilators, and I literally have to go in. The room is like 80 degrees. I have to open up the unit in the middle of a class and open up the outside air damper to allow fresh air to come in. And all the controls are burnt out. I mean, they're 30 years old, 35 years. Everything's failing. We're losing pumps. The underground oil tank, we're already told by we hired a company to come in and do inspections, and they says it will not pass the next inspection. They allowed us to continue using that just as a favor, so they passed it this year. The next time it's not going to pass. And then DES will come down, red tag it. We'll be able to use up whatever product is in that tank, but we'll never be able to refill that. So there's something to think about. Any questions?
So I think we'll just generally turn it over to Q&A and public input for the school side of the presentation this evening. Any questions on any of the articles presented or to the superintendent? Okay, hearing and seeing nobody coming up to speak this evening, that concludes our budget hearing. We appreciate everyone joining and listening in. We thank you, Superintendent Jetty, for the presentation tonight. The Budget Committee will be meeting here momentarily to take action on 2 articles that were presented for the teacher and support staff contracts. Thank you again.